Welcome to Culture Shock, the segment dedicated to bringing you the best hidden gems in the world of entertainment. I'm Mitch Cleaver.
And I'm RJ Taylor.
This week, for your viewing pleasure, I have for you an over-the-top glam rock revamp of the classic Phantom of the Opera tale. I'm talking, of course, about acclaimed director Brian De Palma's 1974 cult classic, Phantom of the Paradise. De Palma is probably most recognized for his Hitchcockian thrillers such as Dressed to Kill, or his big blockbuster hits like Carrie and The Untouchables. But here, De Palma brings his energy and now trademark inventive camera work and puts them to good use in weaving a tale of Faustian deals, unrequited love, and the price of fame. Phantom follows the story of Winslow Leach, played by De Palma regular William Finley. In enters Swan, played by diminutive 70s songwriter Paul Williams. Swan is the enigmatic owner of Death Records, who manages to steal Leach's music away from him. During his attempts to reclaim his stolen masterpiece, Leach winds up in prison only to escape and become victim of a horrible accident which leaves him disfigured. Thought dead, Leach then dons a costume and becomes the Phantom, bent on stopping anyone who dares perform his music within the walls of Swan's new rock palace, the Paradise. Jessica Harper of Suspiria fame also stars as up-and-coming singer Phoenix, who becomes the object of affection for Finley's Phantom. Keep an eye out for Garrett Graham, who makes an appearance as effeminate shock rocker Beef, whom Swan has chosen to perform Leach's stolen opus. Now, this film is refreshingly original and a must for De Palma followers. The film manages to strike a wonderful balance between horror, comedy, and camp. Fans of the Rocky Horror Picture Show are bound to find similarities, but you may be surprised to learn that this film predates Rocky Horror by a whole year, and the music is better too, which was provided by Williams himself, who found previous fame penning tunes for the Carpenters. So, what do you think? Rocky Horror or Phantom of the Paradise?
Well, Mitch, I have to say, as a De Palma fan, I totally agree with you on Phantom of the Paradise, because it is definitely great for any of those major De Palma fans out there. It is a must, and it goes way above and beyond Rocky Horror Picture Show in so many ways, and I'm totally on board with that.
That was a wise decision, sir. Make sure to find that on Netflix next time.
Will do, sir. Okay, and moving on to comedy, this week's comedian that we're going to review is Brian Regan, an American stand-up comic who utilizes a type of comedy known as observational humor, which is essentially comedy about everyday happenings. He turns many of the simpler things in life into something that just about anyone can find humor in, as well as relate to. Whether it be Brian's addiction to Fig Newtons, his tales of woe from the emergency room, or his take on his own childhood, Brian masters this style of humor with such a level of comfort and experience that you can't help but love him. Many observational comedians would agree that he is quite a hard act to follow. Entering the world of stand-up comedy in the 1980s by recommendation of his football coach, this South Florida native spent his days paying his dues and working hard, in turn winning him the Miller Lite Funniest Person in New York award, getting him $10,000. He continued clawing his way through the underground circuit for the next decade. Brian's 1997 CD, Brian Regan Live, sold over 150,000 copies almost consistently in the iTunes Top 10 comedy albums. Brian's non-stop theater tour has reached over 80 cities from 2005 to present. He uses facial expressions as a comedic weapon, and his style of comedy is clean as he tries to avoid any off-color jokes, making him a great watch for all ages. I would recommend his independently produced album 2004's I Walked on the Moon, and his other two albums produced by Comedy Central, 2007's Standing Up and 2008's The Epitome of Hyperbole. A great way to see if Brian Regan is the comedian for you would be to start off by watching his half-hour Comedy Central Presents, which can most likely be found online or through a rerun on the Comedy Central network. This special that came into the scene in the year 2000 is still a top viewer choice to this day. To learn more about Brian, go to www.brianregan.com. Well, Mitch, in your opinion, do you have a favorite special that Brian's done?
I first saw Standing Up, and to this day, it still remains my favorite of the specials.
Oh, it definitely is. Do you have a favorite bit?
I always enjoy the Cranberry Man bit.
The Cranberry Man bit from the Comedy Central Presents, right?
Yeah.
Good choice. Definitely a great choice.
Well, this has been Culture Shock.
And you've just been shocked.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Zoller. I'm professor of history at OCC and professor of Irish history and sundry other subjects at Kean University. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Irish Rebellion today that took place in 1916. For 4 days in 1916, from April 24th to April 29th, 1,700 Irishmen pitted their strength against the greatest empire the world has ever seen, to an extent, and the greatest army on the face of the earth at that time. The British Army, the English tyrannical machine. England has been in Ireland since 1169, and in almost every generation from the 18th century up, the Irishmen have rebelled against Britain's tyranny, and this 1916 rebellion will be their first step toward freedom, the first step toward taking themselves out from under the boot of the British Empire. When they took over this post office on Sackville Street at 3 minutes after noon on the 24th of April, 1916, and read the proclamation to the people that Ireland calls her sons and daughters to her flag. At this time, the Irish Republic began to exist. They were no longer a colony of Britain. And for 6 glorious days, they held at bay this mighty army. This was a blood sacrifice. People like Patrick Pearse, like James Connolly, like Kent and Collins knew that they would die, knew that the warm blood of themselves would quench the thirst of the earth. These men who stood there and were willing to die simply because to die was to win a moral victory for Ireland. And 16 of these men were executed. 16 more martyrs for Ireland on their road to freedom, to go alongside the thousands of others that gave up their life willingly. This rebellion, this 1916 rebellion, commemorated by the Easter Lily, will live forever in the hearts of nationalist Ireland. These people who gave up their life, who made the final sacrifice, who gave the last measure to defy tyranny and put Ireland on the road to freedom, to becoming a republic in 1949, to having their own constitution in 1937. As Yeats said, they will speak forever and the people will listen forever.
Hello and welcome to That's Hot, the show that tells you what's hot and what's not in the world of celebrity gossip. I'm your host, Laura Mirashevsky. Kenny Ortega, director of all 3 High School Musical franchises, has decided to recreate the 80s cult classic Footloose, casting none other than Zac Efron as the leading male role, Ren McCormick. But recently, Zac just dropped out of the remake because he wants to be taken as a more serious actor. I mean, come on, seriously? A more serious actor? I'd take the money and run with it. As they say in show business, the show must go on, and it will. Footloose is set to hit the big screen sometime in 2010. Although the cast is undetermined, Gossip Girl star Chase Crawford has auditioned for Efron's former role. And it has been said that he is being greatly considered to play the role of Ren. I love this. Chase Crawford, oh my gosh, really? In television news, MTV's hit show, The Hills, is in its last and final season. The host and narrator of the show, Lauren Conrad, is over the drama and over the show. Conrad recently just had her fashion line canceled, and as soon as the last season of The Hills is over, she wants to focus on her clothing line and making a name for herself as a designer. I hate it. A clothing line? Come on, stick with the show. Columbia Nashville and Sony Music Nashville has dropped Jessica Simpson from their record label. Jessica really hasn't sold any major hits like she used to, and let's face it, she really isn't that great of a country artist anyway. There are no further plans for Miss Simpson. My thought is maybe that she should stick at what she's good at, although I really don't know what that is. I hates it, really.
Oh, rabble,
well, I'm gonna let you cool off for now. Until next time, I'm Laura Mirashevsky, and that's hot.
We'll be right back.